Right into
Gives
it.
you more
That's-
flexibility.
maybe
You hold it.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always feel like a lounge singer.
Take it, look.
If I break into something like that, just
Start clapping.
There we go.
So, this has been a stressful month for me since the election, and I know that we're all over the election. We're kind of like now wanting to talk about it. But some stuff was coming up for me as I was thinking about this presentation. And one of the things that came to the surface for me is that a couple of weeks ago I was working with a woman who was about 45 whose daughter recently came out as lesbian, and she was sobbing uncontrollably. And one of the things that she kept saying was that I have never felt this kind of fear before. Like I didn't even know this kind of fear existed, because she's so afraid for her daughter and the life that she's embarking upon at this point in her life. And so as I was working with her, I started thinking about that, because what is this? She goes, I didn't even know that this existed. So what is this? I started thinking about that. Is this fear? Is this up, down? Is it an elation? Is it happiness? Is it despair? Is it just general sadness? And as I was working with that, I thought, I have felt every emotion possible, I think, this past month. I've been angry, I've been excited, I've been joyful, I've been defeated, I have felt everything. And I thought, oh my gosh, I feel so out of control. I feel so out of control. And as people in Science and Mind, we know that we're not out of control. That it's our purpose, right? It's our faith. It's our train of thought and where we put it, that we are totally in control over our lives. We have absolute control with our faith. And then I think, but it's all, it's our thought process. And then I think, but what about their thought process? They have a thought process, and are they in control of their life? And so it's like, then I started thinking about what's race consciousness, and what does Ernest Holmes say about this joint race consciousness that we all have created, that we all live in. And Ernest tells us that race consciousness means the collective patterns of belief belonging to the human race. Collective patterns of belief belonging to the human race. So I had to think about that, because that doesn't, what we've done as a human race is make the successful the exception to the rule, and that overall our collective consciousness has created a negativity that we try to overcome. And so it's the people who survive cancer that are the winners. It's the dropouts who go on to get a degree that are the ones who achieve. It's the poor that become millionaires. These are the exceptions to the rule, because race consciousness says that we have poor, that we have, poor health, that we have poverty, that we have all of these things that we see, that we have homelessness. And that on the other hand, we know that this is not true. So do we live in a fractured race crisis? Interesting Freudian slip there. But do we live in a fractured race consciousness? This is where I was thinking. And as I was thinking about that, I was wondering how that happens, because this is the way our country appears to be right now, that we're on these two ends of the continuum. Either we're young or old, either we're rich or poor, we're in good health or we're not, either we're homeless or we live in a safe environment, either we're uneducated, illiterate, or we're educated. It seems like this middle class, this middle ground is somewhere not. And that's what I've been thinking on. So the list goes on and on. Male, female, you know them, vegan, meat eater, it just goes on and on. We're divided, it seems, on these continuums. And then who are we? Who are we? And so who am I? The truth is that we are a diverse people. And over the last 18, 24 months, all of us, I believe, have felt an element of fear as we've been going forward. All of us, on both sides, on both ends of this continuum. I teach students on the east coast of the state, And they are as afraid as the students that I teach from Asheville in Western Carolina, all for different reasons, but it all comes back to the same emotion, fear, and this uncertainty. And so this is the race consciousness that we've developed as a country, as a world, I believe. And fear that we will not be allowed to be who we have worked so hard to become, wherever that is and whatever that means to us individually. And because as a diverse people and as Americans, we're very proud. We're very proud. We believe in success. We believe in pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We have this individuality that is called individualistic culture. And we're proud of that, and we are proud of ourselves, regardless of where we fall on the spectrum, right? So if we could be a multimillionaire or we could be a minister, and we're equally as proud of either of those. And so if we're so afraid that that individuality is going to be taken away, then we live in conflict. And I'm going to stray off into a little bit of popular culture and Broadway here. How many of you have seen Wicked, the musical Wicked? But none of you have seen Wicked? Well, it's a rewrite of The Wizard of Oz. And in the musical, in the second act, scene 3, the Wicked Witch, whose name is Elphaba, is confronting the wizard. And what she says is that, who's portrayed by Joel Grey, and Idina Menzel plays the Wicked Witch. And she says to him, this is all smoke and mirrors. There's no truth here at all. And he replies by saying, the truth is not a thing of fact or reason. The truth is what everyone agrees on. Where I come from, we believe all sorts of things that aren't true. We call it history. A thief is called a traitor or a liberator. A rich man is a thief or a philanthropist. Is one a crusader or a ruthless invader? It's all in which label is able to persist. There are precious few at ease with moral ambiguities, so we act as though they don't exist. The most celebrated are the rehabilitated. And so this is how I believe our culture is represented. It's all where we choose to put the emphasis and our focus. And so I ask again, who am I, right? Who are you? Who are you? For me, I'm a runaway. I'm a 13-year-old gang member. I'm a drug addict, an alcoholic, a thief, a con, a high school dropout. All of these things, this is true. I am all of those things. I am also a college graduate, a ministerial student, a professor, a social justice activist, and I'm clean and sober, and I'm a friend. So I am that too. So on either end of those continuums, I believe we all have our histories and we all stand there. So who am I? Am I what I have chosen as my title? Am I a minister now, or will I be a minister? I'm Dr. Kate Greyson, but I'm also a student. And I wonder, am I Barbara Jan Blashill, my given name at birth by my parents, or am I Catherine R.B. Greyson, my chosen name from 25 years ago? And again, all of us have these fragments that we live with and that we bring in to hold us, but without the conflict and without the story that we have behind all these things, we have to ask ourselves, who are we? If we don't have this conflict in our nation, then who are we? Are we Democrat or Republican? Or can we see past that, which is my goal? It has no bearing on my life, on my choices. I believe that. And so, there's another one. Who's seen Les Miserables? Do you know? So Les Miserables, yes, yes. So in this, we know that there's a lifelong convict who's been on the run, Jean Valjean. He's been running for his life. He changed his name. He's become a good man. He became the mayor. And he gets caught by Javert, who's been the police officer, essentially, the authority who's been chasing him all those years. There's a scene where Javert becomes the hostage of Valjean, and Valjean lets him go free, even though it's the same man who's been trying to imprison him for years. And what happens, though, is that for Valjean, this act of kindness, he's unable to reconcile it, and he commits suicide. But this is what I want to ask you. If we revisit this, just because Javert commits suicide, apparently unable to deal with the reality of this generous kindness from this man who's a criminal, who's condemned his whole life. But what if, in his very last moments, Javert had an awakening and he became a spiritual warrior? And instead of committing suicide, he gave his life so that another may live his more fully. What if it's just in our perception? So all of these years, I've known Les Miserables. I saw it when I was very young in the theater. I've read the book. I saw the movie, and I'm sitting there just recently listening again, and when Javert is standing on the precipice and he's saying, "Who am I? Who am I?" And then he falls to his death. I decided to think of him as giving his life so that Jean Valjean could live his. And we do that all the time. We don't say that our military goes into battle to commit suicide. We go in saying and knowing that they're giving with honor who they are for the rest of us. We say that all the time. Our firefighters in Tennessee gave their lives so that the rest of us can be free. And I believe that's true here too. So it's all a matter of perception in my mind, where we put our focus. So the question is back to that old Native American folk tale. Which wolf do we feed? Which is the stronger because of the one that we give energy to and that we nourish? So if we complain, if I'm afraid, if I feed my fear about who I am right now, will I be allowed to continue in a New Thought ministry? That's a question, right? For many reasons, not only financially on some level, but how accepted will it be in a new environment, or all sorts of things I can think of. But not only me, right? I think everyone has things at stake, no matter what. So the question again is, who are we? But what we can't forget also is there's no mistake that The Walking Dead is one of the most popular television shows and comic books of all time. And is that who we are? Right? I'm sure there's many parables that we could do, but let's not forget the other end of that media spectrum. That there's books and TV shows, there's The Secret, we have Roomy, we have Pay It Forward, The Help, we have Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, New Girl, all sorts of movies and books that lift our spirits and rise us to become people and challenge us to become better than we were before. There's the Bible, which gives us many parables for walking through the darkness and can provide a glimpse into our identities. There's Mark Nepo, whose self-reflections inspire millions to dive deeper and to explore hidden spaces within. There's Pema Chodron, who discusses that very spiritual warrior as one who has stood in the fire of their own soul and then lovingly stands on the edge of darkness, holding humanity in her hands. We can all do that. We have Ernest Holmes, Hopkins, Emerson's, all of the writings that we all know so well. And I ask again in your own self-reflection, who are you? Who are we as a group here today? Who are we as a nation? And then back to me, because it's always about me. Who am I? Where do I stand? Am I bound by my past, a past that could be just as recent as something I said yesterday? Am I bound by that? Or can I reflect on that and change my life? And as I change my life and go forward, I touch many others. Have I stood in the fire? Have I faced those spaces deep within me. This is what I ask you to reflect on. Have you stood in the fire? Have you faced those deep hidden spaces within you as well, so that we can create this world that we all live in? Are we spiritual warriors, standing in the unknown, willing to move in the direction of heart, love, and peace? Mark Nepo says, when losing our way, we frequently retreat and withhold and take what we think is a safer path. This often complicates our confusion. An old woodsman told him once that the reason most people get lost is because they don't go far enough. They doubt where they are and they change direction too soon. Somehow, we are called to lean forward by what little light we are given. And that is it. That's the key right there, is to continue to lean forward. Try not to change our direction, to know that the path that we've been on all this time, since Ernest Holmes, is the path. And Ernest tells us to, Ernest is the one, Ernest is my guy. I know, he's many of ours. Ernest tells us this, if I can find it quickly. And this is who it's because I've got it bookmarked with the cover. This is what I believe, and this is who I want to be. I want to open my doors. I want to be that person that everyone can come to. And this is where I'm going to close today. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is here also, it sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit, drink the wine, all is yours, and you are welcome. And so it is.
So it is.